Morning and good evening, friends. Omega Pyramid Dallas, PSSM Corporate, and Pyramid Valley International welcome you all to day 53 of Stillness Beat, your daily dose of meditation and wisdom. So, today, as it is Sunday, it's going to be a masterclass, and we have Dr. James Parker with us to take us through the meditation and have a great conversation. So I welcome James to Stillness Beat. Hi, James.
Hi, Prithvi. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for uh, accepting our invitation and being here.
I'm happy to do it. Thanks for welcoming me.
Thank you. So, James, friends, we know James. He is from North Carolina and professor of chemistry and a spiritual scientist, a man who speaks right from heart. We always love to listen to him because he grounds us into the present moment with his words. So, today, let's experience his presence in our session. So, James, please take us through 40 minutes of meditation and then we'll have conversation.
Okay, thank you so much. So, friends, let us prepare to meditate. Um, there's always maybe a a step into meditation that we take voluntarily. So let's think about how we're going to step from our active life that we've had today, or maybe it's morning where you are and you're waking up, but um, still we need to step into meditation. So I would say, have your chair, your favorite chair to sit on. I'm sitting on mine, and we'll see if my co-meditator will join. My co-meditator is a professional. Her name is Lulu, and she's my cat. So if ever I have trouble meditating, I just look at her and she reminds me, oh, that's how you do it. So go ahead and sit comfortably, your legs crossed, your ankles, and take your posture, take your asana that you like, um, and go ahead and relax. But sitting up straight, of course, spine erect and relaxed. Go ahead and take a deep breath in and hold and exhale. Another deep breath in and hold and exhale. And now we'll breathe naturally with eyes closed. Bring your awareness to your breath, allowing the breath to move as it will, not controlling it, just observing this breath. Feel the sensation as it moves inward and outward. Awareness should be focused on the breath and not on the external world. By focusing awareness on the breath, awareness becomes aware of the internal world. And we'll just continue like that. Should any thoughts arise, refocus awareness on the breath. Don't resist any thought. Just keep the awareness on the breath, and thoughts will naturally dissipate until we're aware of our internal state. And we'll go for the next 30 minutes or so. My dear friends, let us begin to come back slowly. Bring your awareness back to the external. Keep your eyes closed, aware of the breath, and also more aware of the external, more aware of sounds and surroundings. Enjoy the moment of peace that you feel and continue to bring this peace with you when you come out of the meditation. When you are ready, if you wish, you could rub your hands together and you can place them over your eyes. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and you can look into the palm of your hands. And then we are back. I hope everyone had a great meditation. I hope it was very peaceful, calming, and grounding, and brought you to the center of your being. I hope you had a good experience of the underlying beingness that you are. Um, this usually comes into my awareness when I meditate. I will have a sense of beingness. And, the beingness for me, it does exist within the body. I feel it, but it's not the same as the body. There's the body, and there's this essence of beingness that feels like it's within and around the body, and even a flow of energy throughout, within and without, from out to within, and from within to without. There's this flow of energy in a state of beingness, which is beyond just the physical body, but it's like the ground of what we are. And if you can feel that and become aware of it in meditation, it's it's great. So I hope you were able to be aware of that during this meditation. Now, I think Prithvi, what we'll do, if it's okay, we could take questions from people if anyone would like to ask questions. I hear my co-meditator. I'm gonna let her in. Maybe she'll make an appearance. Be right back.
Sure, sure, definitely. By the time James come back, I would like to introduce my co-host friend today, Yashaswini Bajaj, joining us from Canada. She's a physiotherapist, and she'll also be in the conversation. Hi, Yash.
Hello, hello Prithvi, hello James.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. I found my co-meditator. This is Lulu.
Wonderful. Hello, Lulu.
She's a professional. If you need lessons, she'll teach you. Here, Lulu, go to
Lovely.
your spot. There she
All
is.
right. Thank you so much. So, first of all, thank you, James, for joining us. We're so excited to hear from you and learn a little more about mastering our inner world today. And we were wondering if initially we could start off by asking you some questions on the same topic. Let's first,
Mhm.
what led you to this experience to starting meditation and discovering your inner world? Like, what was there some specific experience that got you started on this journey?
Yes, thank you. There was. Um, I suppose everyone at some point in their life um, starts to question what is the meaning of this and why are we here? And so I had these questions coming up throughout my life. And interestingly, you, at least for me, here's how it was. I had the questions come up. What's the meaning of this? What's the purpose? And for me, it was always dissatisfying to say, well, the point here is to be as successful as you can in the world and accumulate as much wealth as you can. That's kind of a worldly point of view, and ultimately, if you do that, it's fairly dissatisfying because you're leaving something out. And I remember, I'll give you one example of a point in my life where I had the question come up, and it wasn't. I didn't get a good answer at that point. I just had the question come up. I was um, I was a freshman at the university, and it was a nice day in the autumn, and I was taking a walk. I was by myself. I think it was a Saturday, and there was no classes. And I was taking a walk, and I was unfamiliar with the city. I was in a new city, and I was trying to see something new, and I was kind of just going wherever. No idea where I was going. And I come across this immense cemetery. And when you come to a cemetery, that's when you start wondering what's reality all about, because you start to think, wow, all these people who lived and they all passed away. And the question comes up now, what's the meaning of this? Why do people live and then pass away? And what's happening? And what is the point? What is the purpose? Is there something deeper than I'm just here to, gratify myself and to live as well as I can because that's fairly shallow. And so I thought about it and I thought there has to be something deeper, there has to be more meaning, but I didn't get much progress because, as a student, your thoughts are immediately turned back to all your classes and you have to get your grades. And so it was much later in life, maybe around 2017 or around there, I started to really feel a pull to, um, answer this question. Because up until then, I'd lived my life and not had any good answers. So I started to become like searching seriously for an answer. I started to go more inward. I started to read books on spirituality. I didn't know what books to take. I didn't have anyone to advise me. The only thing I knew for sure was organized religion didn't help me to answer the question. So I felt like the answer had to be, for me at least, it had to be outside of organized religion. It has to be there, but where is it? And so ultimately, the books led me to look inward and find the connection that exists with with everything, with the universe. And so I didn't have that answer initially. I had a lot of pointers towards that was the path. Um, but one of the things that really, really helped me the most, I would say, beyond even the books, was connecting with um, a person who was able to help. You might call that person a guru. There's different names for these kinds of people who can help. But I found a great person who could help. And this person actually was the one who taught me meditation and taught me, how to meditate and how to connect with my beingness in meditation and how to bring that forward even after meditation. So after the meditation is over, ideally what we would do is we would bring that with us. So there's the internal state and then there's the external state. And we need to know that they really are one and the same thing. Uh, we see things with two different perspectives. So there's always two perspectives whenever you look at something. And I say you look at something with your mind or your intellect. That's how you see it. And then you can look at something with your heart. And when you see something with your heart, you're seeing it in a very different light. So there's two ways of seeing. Do I want to see this with my intellect or do I want to see this with my heart? And I think one of the things that meditation does is it opens us up to looking both internally and externally at everything with the heart. And that's what provides answers to questions like, what is the meaning of this? Because if you look at it with your intellect, you can't understand it. My example of, wow, a vast cemetery that goes for miles, and there's no end to it. You can keep walking and you can keep looking, and there's no end to it. Wow, what does all this mean? Well, the intellect cannot possibly understand it. Or if it does, it won't actually get the meaning. It will assign some meaning to it that's inadequate. Okay. But the heart is where, we get our answers, and it's the connection to the ground of our being, and it's the connection to wisdom. And so if we look at it with the heart, we my co-meditator is bothering me. I'm gonna have to get her over here to talk a little bit. But if we look at it with the heart, and we stop trying to assign meaning, okay? We stop trying to input our meaning onto it, and we are open and we say to ourselves, I really don't know. I really honestly don't know, but I want to know. And this is where I was when I was trying to find why am I here? What is the purpose of it all? It can't just be I'm gonna go buy that next new car. It can't
Right.
be just that. That's crazy. If that's why I'm here, I don't really need to be here. Um, and so I got to the point where I could say, I don't know. And when you can honestly say, I really don't know, now you're open to allowing answers to come. And you can say, I don't know, but I would really like to know. You know,
Mhm.
I really, really would like to know. And then when you meditate, you're open to receiving the knowledge that you're asking for. And you're open to receiving it in a way that's really it's kind of like a genuine sort of way to connect to I want to say connect. It's like you're already connected, but you don't really know it because you're not like allowing the information in energy to flow because you've been blocking it. And so if you feel like you're not connected, it's a blockage. It's not that you're not connected because you are. It's just that things are blocked and they're blocked out by the mind that wants to assign meaning to things, you know. It wants to say, oh, I already know what that means. People already told me all about that. I already know. And if you think you already know, that's the reason why you don't know. So,
Makes sense.
it's this sort of cyclic pattern that serves as a block. So the master I was with was able to point this out to me in a variety of ways, which worked, and he also showed me a meditation, and so this happened. I think I got my first meeting with the master in 2021, so about 5 years ago. And that's when I really, really got my blockages removed and got better, flow of information and connection and can rely more on, uh, understanding through the heart. Okay. And always, always, if you're not sure, remember, You can see it through mind and intellect, or you can see it through the heart. And you can always compare the answers too, if they're different. If you have different answers, then you can compare them and say, oh, which path do I want to go? Do I want to take this path that the intellect is leading me down? Or this, do I want to take this path that the heart's leading me down if they kind of diverge? Now, I encourage people to look at the choice and say, if my heart says turn left, but my mind says turn right, stop a second and be open to the possibility that turning left could bring something to you that you didn't know was possible. Okay. If you always follow your mind, you're always saying, I'm going to take the safe road. I'm going to take the safe path because, this is the way we're going. This is the way I've been taught to do it. Then you're always going to get the same result. And if you're
Mhm.
not happy, how are you going to change anything, So, I know that was kind of a long answer to your question, so I'll stop
That,
talking
that
for a
was
minute.
that was amazing because just to understand, it all started with you questioning, and that question led you to be open to new answers. And sometimes, like you said, only when you accept that you're not willing, you don't know all the answers, and you ask for a question, that's when you start to receive guidance. And I love that you touched upon the topic of being receptive, being open to receiving. So that also brings me to another question. You were talking about how our inner world and outer world can be two different realities. Can you explain how your inner world or the heart and the outer world can be connected? How can the outer world start to reflect our inner world? Like, is there a connection?
Yeah. So that's a great question. And one of the things that we want to remember is the outer world might seem like it's some independent, objective experience, but it's not. It's whatever you want it to be. It's whatever you make it to be. So again, we've been conditioned in our society to understand the outer world in a certain way. And sometimes people look at it and say, "Oh, it's such a big world. There's so much going on, and I'm so small, and I feel so insignificant." And look at how these things happen to me, and I'm pushed one way and pulled one way, and I feel like I don't have control over my life. Um, that's a way of seeing things, okay? So that's your perspective from the way that you want to understand it. Now, there's there's another way of seeing things, and there's a way of seeing things uh, where you understand that the outer world, what seems to be exterior, is actually a part of what you are. And it really is a part of yourself, and you're not a separate, disconnected entity who is kind of at the whims of the which way is the wind blowing today? Am I going to have good luck today, or is it going to be more bad luck? It's if you can look at the world as a part of what you are and look at it with compassion, um, look at it with compassion means understanding what you view as others, right? There's the me and there's the you, and this me relates to that you through, languaging and in other ways. Um, but if I can understand uh, what's happening in my world, I can understand you better. And if I can look with compassion, then I can understand myself better too. So, one thing we want to recognize, I think it's very valuable, is to understand that there's a connection between me and you, and it's not superficial. It's not transactional. Okay, there's a deeper connection between me and you. And once we realize that that deeper connection is the ground of our beingness, then we can have real empathy for others. We can really um, put ourselves in their place and say, "Oh, I understand what this person is going through." Whatever the situation may be, if someone needs help and they're in a bad spot and they say, "Could you help me out?" The conditioning of the world is, no, I can't because, I have limited resources, right? We're told, oh, no, no, I have limited resources, but there's help for you because, the government has programs. So that's the easy out. That's the kind of like living by the ego way out of things. That's what we're told to do in society because society, it doesn't truly accept the deep connection that all is one. Okay, let me put that out there. All is one, and you're not a separate entity that's severable from the universe. You are an integrated piece of the whole, and without you, the whole couldn't exist. So you are extremely important. Um, and so I think, when we look at the world as a part of ourself, we now have a chance to see it in a different light. Instead of seeing a criminal as bad, we see a person who's struggling for survival and they felt like they had to do what they did in the moment and sure, maybe it was a bad thing, but we can have more compassion for that person and we can say, yeah, I see why they did what they did. And I mean, I'm not going to support, obviously, something happening that was bad, especially if they hurt someone. But now I understand better, why did they do the thing that they did? Um, and it's part of the idea of, non-judgment. Whenever we use our ability to judge, that always that always can come back on us in a bad way, because we don't have, in order to make a real judgment, we would need to have all the information, and we don't have it. We don't have it all. One of the things we typically don't have is a deep understanding of the other person and why would they do the thing that they did. Um, Most people do it out of, ignorance because they think I had to do this to survive. Probably there was a better way for that person, but at least we can, have compassion for them. And that changes our view of the world, okay? When we have compassion for others, instead of seeing the world as, a place that is, I guess, kind of adversarial and competitive, we can understand it from, a place of something needs to be healed here, okay? Um, I know sometimes people do bad things, but I don't know necessarily why they do bad things. But the idea of compassion can allow us to put down the judgment and try to see what's really going on here, what really needs to be healed. And how can I help to facilitate the healing? Well, I can do it by not judging. I can do it by saying, I'm sure the person had to do for themselves at that moment. I'm sure what they chose was what they thought was the best course of action, even though it looks really bad. Even though, wow, when you look at this, you're like, wow, that looks really bad. But to have compassion, we can say, I'm sure they were doing the best they could at the time with what they knew. And that
Yes.
allows us to put judgment down, and it allows us to understand that we do have a connection with the other and that we are all part of this source. And if we can understand another, even when they do things we strongly disagree with, then we can be more connected with them. So I hope
Wow.
that answered your question.
Wow, that made me want to just drop my shoulders and take a nice deep breath in. It was so relaxing to understand the concept of oneness, of how we are all like waves of an ocean, like we're all connected. So beautifully explained. Now, I want to ask you another question. Since we are discussing about inner world and mastering the inner world. Can you share some ways, in some practical ways, or some techniques that can all help us just improve or master our inner world, or even just have a compassionate inner world, or just a kinder, more positive mindset, or just not being afraid of our own inner world?
Yeah. So, the inner world can be very complex sometimes. And sometimes we can feel when, when difficult feelings come up, sometimes we can feel, uncomfortable. We might have anxiety, we might have fear, um, and these are uncomfortable states to be in. There could even be some depression sometimes that might stem from loneliness and factors like that. So the inner world, I believe that what happens is there are feelings that flow, and the feelings are a way for us to understand with our current level of consciousness some information that we need to understand. So information doesn't only flow through, words that are spoken and sights that are interpreted and sounds that are heard, etc. Information also flows through the feeling level. And so we have this ability to receive feelings. And I believe it's information that we need to have, and that's why it's there. Now, feelings can be positive, they can be negative, they can be neutral. Uh, the positive ones, of course, are great, they're amazing. And then the negative ones, we many times we don't want them, and we say, "Oh, if only I could get rid of this. If only I can just shove this out of awareness somewhere and put it away, cap that thing up, and maybe it'll stay in the bottle." But see, this is the approach that will cause problems. You don't want to do that. Now you may not always be in a position where you can easily feel a negative feeling. But when you can, here's what I would recommend. In order to get the information, because remember, feelings are a flow of information, and it's a way to become aware of something that we need to be aware of. Okay? So that's the way I see feelings. It's communication with what? With yourself, okay? You're communicating with yourself. You're getting information that you need to know, and it's sent through feelings. So I would recommend now. Now, this is for the negative feelings. Positive feelings are much easier, right? Everybody wants the positive feelings. There's not much that needs to be said about that because, hey, you're going to embrace the positive feelings, I'm pretty sure. But the negative feelings are what we want to talk about. So, and these can occur because of external circumstances that are happening. Obviously, your expectations weren't met, and so now you're feeling bad. Like I had a friend call up yesterday, and she said, "Oh, I just lost my job." Wow, that she was in a really, really bad state, and so we talked on the phone for a good while. And, but how do you, as a person, how do you deal with feelings that come up that are very negative? I would say my best advice is this. when you're able to, sit quietly, find a place where you can be alone. After maybe you've talked it out with people, do talk it out with people, but also, find a place where you can be alone and sit with the feeling and just be open to it. Just sit like you're in meditation. You can even start meditating, but you can have an intention to place your awareness on the feeling. And you can say, okay, for the next whatever 30 minutes of my meditation, I am going to allow this feeling and I am going to be with this feeling and I'm going to let this feeling show me what it wants to show me, and now is my time to be with the feeling. Now, when you do that, what happens is the information is allowed to flow because you're not resisting it. And it might at first be difficult, right? It could be difficult for a while, but the idea here is if you continue to sit with the feeling and you continue to allow the feeling to be what it is, and you're not trying to change it, and you're not trying to push it away, but you're being open and you're saying, okay, here's my awareness, here's my presence, I'm on the feeling. What does this feeling want to tell me? Allow it, be with it, and even ask it. What are you trying to tell me? I'm here. I'm listening. I want to have the message. Now, after a certain time, what will happen is it will naturally dissipate. And how long it takes, I don't know. It could just be a short while or it could be a long while, but it will dissipate naturally. And eventually it will completely go away and it will no longer need to be there because the information was transmitted that needed to be transmitted. And now the feeling's gone. You can move on to other things. You can move on to better feelings. You can move on to more positive feelings if that's what the case may be. But that's how we work through feelings. So we have to work through them. It's never a good idea to uh, push them out of your awareness and into the subconsciousness for long, long periods of time, because what'll happen is they'll come back with much more force later, and it will be more difficult later when they do come back. So I think once, you know, letting the feelings be what they are is a process of integration. Okay, we've got to integrate the information that they're carrying into ourselves so that we can be more whole and more connected. And that will allow us to live our lives more peacefully and more joyfully. Okay. Um, and so that's how I see feelings and what they are and how to deal with them. And the more you can do it, the easier it becomes, and the less and less feelings over time you're carrying with you because suddenly they flow through you and they come through and they come and they go, and you're not bothered by them anymore if you allow your presence to be with them for a period of time that's needed for integration of that information that they carry.
Wow, beautifully said. Just feeling your feelings can get you to heal and just get to feeling better. Sometimes that's the
Yeah.
way to go. Just walk through it rather than suppressing. Lovely.
Yes.
Now, another barrier I find towards feeling your feelings or just tapping into your inner world is the ability to focus. I find that many of us have difficulty with there's so much distraction out there with endless streaming videos and social media, and there's so much everyone's trying to get our attention. And in order to feel our feelings or even just meditate, I find that many of us are going through this phase where it's hard to focus. It's hard to just have the ability to just concentrate and focus or take some time off to meditate. Do you have Any recommendations for that?
Yes. So thank you. That's a great question. Um, in our time now, we've got the mobile phone, and we're always connected to that, and there's always something coming in. A lot of people have social media and various kinds of it, multiple types of it. And so I would say, you know, try and narrow that down as much as possible to those things that really, really matter to you. And then the rest of it, realize that it's just a distraction and that you can always put that down if you need to. One of the things I like to do is for those things that don't matter too much, I'll put them on silent mode. I'll go into my app, and because sometimes I don't want to delete them because there might be something occasionally that comes up that I want to know about. And I hate to delete the whole app because of that. So I'll put the thing in silent mode, and I'll make sure it can't send notifications and banners. And then it'll all build up, and eventually I'll look at it and I'll kind of scroll through it and say, oh, what happened here? Okay, nothing really. Okay, that's fine. So that's one way of doing it. Um, I guess, making sure to make time for yourself, to have time for meditation is really important. And these distractions, a lot of time what they do is they just take us out of the present moment. And the mind is always looking for a distraction. Where can I find something interesting so I'm not going to be bored? Is kind of like what the mind is doing all the time. So maybe I'll look here, maybe I'll look there, maybe I'll read this or I'll scroll over here. And basically the mind is doing this partly because if it settles down and becomes very, very still, what happens is you'll naturally start doing this inward look, and you'll naturally become more aware of your feelings that are flowing in your inner state. And the mind is not interested in that. That's not where the mind wants to go. And so naturally the mind will look for distractions. So it doesn't have to see the self. Okay, so the self is what's underneath. It's the essence of what we are. And the mind, that part of the mind that loves these distractions, is the part that wants us to identify with it, because that gives it additional energy. But it's just a distraction. That's all it is. It's just a distraction. If you put your energy there, it can tend to dissipate. And then, oh, I won't get anything done today. I'll be very, ineffective today. Well, yeah, you won't get what's important done because you're distracted by all these things that your mind thinks is interesting. Um, but as soon as you're not distracted, as soon as you're able to take charge of that and kind of put it down, what you'll find is when you want to put your attention on something that needs it, it will flow much more easier, and you'll be much more efficient and able to take care of the important tasks that you need. So your work will go a lot more efficiently when you're centered in your state of beingness, versus, my mind is looking at all these distractions on social media or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. So sometimes it's all about awareness and then intending to put your energy into the right activity. Love that.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to also ask there are some questions from our listeners. There is one question I'd like to ask you, James. It's from Percy. Um, Percy says, still unable to locate my breath without having to focus on some point, like tip of the nose. It's like kind of having centered attention on the tip of the nose bridge to know breath is following. Is this fine?
Uh, yeah, I think so. I think it's fine. So, in order to be aware of the breath during meditation, you have to have, sensory perception. And so there needs to be you need to have your awareness on some part of it that you're easily able to sense. So whether it's the tip of your nose where you can feel air entering because it's cooler air coming in and you feel that coolness, or whether it's, the chest kind of expanding and contracting up and down movement there. I don't think it matters at all, just as long as you have some awareness of it. And uh, having the awareness of the breath during meditation serves to keep us in the present moment. The breath is always in the present moment, and it's something we don't have to consciously control. And so that just serves to bring us back to this present moment where everything is real. The past is over, the future hasn't yet happened. The reality is now. So yeah, I think that's totally fine the way you're doing it.
Lovely. Thank you.
Hmm.
Now, we are also open to answering more questions from the audience. If anyone has any questions, all right.
Let's see, it looks like we have one. Any tip how to
Yes.
perceive from the heart rather than the mind? Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's a really great question. How do you do that? Okay, so typically the mind has expectations, right? And if you think about it, you can think about it in terms of how do you relate to others? What's the relationship based on? Is it is it transactional? If it's transactional, then it's typically coming from the mind. Okay. So the mind has expectations. The mind says, if you do this for me, then I'll do that for you. But if you're not going to do this for me, then I'm definitely not doing that for you. Okay, that's the mind. That's the setup. Okay, because you're living from what's called ego, the I thought, the individual being. In this ego, it's interested in physical survival. It's interested in amassing lots of resources as much as it can, because that's what it's trained to do. And so if you find yourself in lots of transactional relationships, you've probably been following the mind. Uh, if you find that you're allowing yourself to put down expectations for other people, then you may be following the heart. So the heart, if you follow the heart, in order to get the information that the heart's sending, it's important to be in a place where you can be calm, you can be still, and that's why meditation is important. Um, there's a certain stillness within that can communicate without words. And if you ask yourself, oh, in this situation, what would be the best thing to do? I have a choice here. Um, it's good not to make a decision on the spot, because lots of times the very first idea that comes is what's coming through from the mind. The mind will say, "Oh, yeah, got the answer. This is what needs to happen." And then stop for a second and look at that and say, okay, that's one way to go. Is there another way? you can ask yourself a question like, um, what action could I take that would allow for the greatest good for everyone in this situation? Not just me, not just what would be best for me, but maybe ask the question, in this situation where others are involved too, what would be the best course of action that would serve everyone? You may find that there's two answers. There's the one answer that the mind said, "Oh, this is the way to go, obviously, because this is definitely going to be best for me." And then there might be another path that says, "Yeah, but if I did this, it would include these other people better, and it would serve for an overall outcome that's better for everyone," you see. And so a lot of times that's the way you can access the heart path, is to say, what's the best course of action for everyone involved here? Um, and it comes through as wisdom. You may have felt wisdom coming through. I feel it a lot of times coming through the heart chakra area as a flow of energy, but ultimately it's translated into knowledge, into a knowingness of what would be the best thing to do for everyone in this situation. So really the answer is get quiet, understand the first answer is likely from the mind, but the second answer that comes later is likely to be from the heart.
Wow, that was wonderful, James. Thank you for telling us. It is such a nice way to reflect. Is this for the highest good of all? And then that makes it clearer. Lovely. If there are any more questions, we are open to answering them through chats or through video at the moment. Also, today it was so wonderful listening to you. It was just a very, I do see one more question. If we use universal discrimination instead of individual discrimination using the mind.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's pretty similar to what we just described. Universal discrimination, I think, is sort of what, like I was talking about. How could I, what would be the best course of action for everyone involved versus what's the best course of action for me? How can I get the most out of this for myself versus how could we have the best outcome for everyone? And I think that's what the person likely meant by that. And that's just a different way to have words. Like universal is the path of the heart, versus the typical logical intellectual way, which is more like the egoic path. So I'm pretty sure that the person is just
Yes.
using different vocabulary to say the same thing that we've said. Yeah.
Got it. All right. It was amazing listening to you today, James. And now I'm going to let Prithvi take over. Over to you, Prithvi. Thank you very much, James.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that wonderful conversation. I think we have a hand raised by Devi. Can we take that, James?
Oh, yes, sure. Thank you.
Let's unmute them.
Thank you, Prithvi. Thank you, Mr. James. I am the one who asked the question. So I get a difficulty using the heart route rather than the mind and intellect. So my understanding is we are using mind for everything, but we have to train the mind. See, there is a fundamental discrimination, individual discrimination, universal discrimination. So with the mind itself, we have to tell the mind what is best for the highest benefit of the universe. So I don't know how to go to the heart. That's why I was asking you. So usually with the mind only, we are training the mind is not for selfishness. not my selfish reason. What is good for highest for the everybody, universal. So I'm still using the mind. That's what I was thinking. I can use the mind only instead of using individual discrimination, universal discrimination. If it is giving one answer, okay, it is good for me, but is it good for everybody? I can ask the mind itself. I get the answer from the mind that I can understand. But how to go to heart, I did not understand that. So can I get that same thing if I'm using the mind only, going with universal discrimination? Do I get the same result? That was my question.
Mm. Yeah. So, so basically how to switch from mind to heart. This is this is something that would be what I would call one of the fruits of meditation, right? Why do we meditate? It's to understand ourselves better, really, and it's to understand. So, um, for a person who's been trained kind of in a secular way, which is most people, um, we're naturally trained to understand everything through the mind. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing. The thing that could be negative about it is the training is biased. Okay. So, and what do I mean by that? The training is biased in the sense that um, it serves the selfishness. Okay, there's selfishness and there's selflessness, and these are different. These are like polar opposites. To be selfish is to be one way. To be selfless is to be another way. Now, the training, the programming that we get, you can call it education if you want. The education that we get is programming, and that programming biases the way that we do things. And it doesn't, I mean, it, it naturally wants to optimize for, the individual self to be the most important. And then everything else is less important. That's sort of the way the bias is if you have your education in the world. Now, the other way is the pathway of the heart, and this is maybe the pathway that's more coming from, I would say, the deep state of beingness. Okay, it's the pathway that's uh, it's present, it's always available, but there's blocks to it, and the blocks are you know, the thoughts that we're having about how the world is and our place in the world and how we see ourselves versus the world. So all of this is programming and your view of the world really is an aspect of the way you've been programmed, okay? Um, but the deprogramming part's necessary in order to have what I would call a real view of the world, a real view of who am I in this world, and a real understanding that I am one with the world. The world isn't different from what I am. It's the external part of what I am. I'm still that, but I am also this. I am this essence and I am that as well. So the heart, the pathway of the heart is the pathway of connection to all things. And how do you get there? That's the question. How do I get there? I've been trained to work from my mind my whole life. Now, how do I get to the heart? Because it's difficult, right? I mean, it's non-intuitive, and there's typically not good advice out there for, well, how do I get to the heart? Um, we get to the heart by putting down things like judgment. So when you start judging this versus that, and you start separating everything into different aspects. and you separate yourself from another when you judge. And judgment is one of the ways that we stay stuck in the mind. Because if you judge someone, if you say, "Oh, yeah, he did the wrong thing," obviously, well, what are you doing? You're making the person wrong, and by making them wrong, what did you do? You made yourself right. That just strengthens your ego, and it strengthens your association with your mind in the way you've been trained. So putting down judgment is one of the ways that can lead to the heart. Now, that's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy. None of this is easy, but you have to have a willingness to do it. Okay. So you put it down because you're looking for the reality, the underlying reality. Sort of like I had the question, what does this all mean? If I'm here just to gratify myself and to live in the best house I possibly can and to drive the best, newest car all the time, that's so shallow. I mean, you could do that, of course, and many people do it, but does it really lead to real, states of joy? Or is it just superficial? And, as soon as I'm done playing with my car, back to being, oh, what's the next thing now? Because now I'm bored again. Now my mind is bored. I played with my toy and now I'm bored again. So that's living from mind versus living from heart, trying to understand what is the meaning of it. What is the meaning? Now, I can always assign meaning to things, right? That's one of my abilities. I can say what something means, but that is not necessary. The meaning I assign is not necessarily the essence of what it is. And so I can misinterpret it, you see, and that's where the danger is. I can misinterpret it. So that's why I would say, it's best many times to say, I don't know. And to be very honest, I don't know. I honestly don't know what the meaning of this is. And this is another pathway that leads to the heart. When you're able to say, I'd really like to know the deep meaning behind life. Why am I here? Why is everyone else here? Why do we go through this whole process from birth to growth to, all these experiences to apparently a state of death? And what's behind it? What's the real meaning of it? And if you're looking for the answer to questions like this, you really, I think it's important to follow the pathway of the heart, and that pathway is found by putting down the answers you've already been given, because you've been given a lot of answers through the programming, through the education you've received, and not all of them are right, unfortunately. There's been a lot of wrong answers that have been provided that serve someone else's agenda. And all I'm saying is, if you put it down, if you say, I'm going to put this down and I'm going to say, I don't know, but when I meditate, I'm going to ask the question, what's the meaning of this? And I'm going to be open to receiving wisdom. Wisdom is information that flows from the heart, okay? The intellect has information that it gathers through the
From the mind.
senses, okay? But wisdom comes up through the heart, and you will know the answer when it comes because it will come through the heart. So these are different ways of knowing, and different paths to get there. So putting down the I already know is a way to get to the heart, and putting down judgment is a way to get to the heart.
That's really amazing tip and explanation. Thank you so much, James. And we have Sharma sir also on the call. Can we hear from him? While he comes, just wanted to ask, we have asked you before about this. Um, what do you think about the project of Omega Pyramid that is coming up
Oh.
in Dallas?
Yeah, yeah, thanks for that question. That's great. So I had a chance to visit in January. I went to Dallas and visited and it was great. And I went to the site of where the pyramid is going to be and had a nice tour. The land is very beautiful. And so I think it's a great project. And I really think it's going to be wonderful. And I know there's a lot of details and it's not easy, but I'm confident it's all going to work out. And it looks just amazing. So I hope I can be some part of that as it moves forward. So I'm hoping to be able to get back to Dallas and meet people again and have some good interactions. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much, James, for your time and for the wisdom that you've shared is so deep. And I am very sure a lot of us would have taken a lot of inputs from today's session. And it's amazing as always to talk to you. Your presence itself is very, very soothing and calming and grounding. Thank you so much. Please do come on Stillness and keep enlightening us whenever possible. It'll
Thank
be
you.
nice to talk to you.
Yes,
So
I'll be
thank
happy to come back anytime. I'll be happy. Just the next invitation, I'll definitely come back. Thank you.
thank you so much. So thank you for today's time and energy, James. So, friends, thank you, Yash, for taking us to that conversation. And, friends, it was a wonderful participation today. Thank you so much for being with us, meditating, and being through this conversation. Let's have a beautiful day ahead and then meet again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you all. See you tomorrow. Bye.